In case you missed the ultra insightful drafting in round one portion of this, this is a mono white deck. Opening hand was acceptable, with the Lawkeeper, the Crown, the Griffin Rider all playable, um, and then just hope to draw into some more land. And at this point, knowing that I'm going to cast the Griffin Rider, just attack it. And if he's going to shock it, he's going to shock it. If you're not going to have the mana back to tap. There's no, other than Royal Assassin, there's no Assassinate in this set. So having a tapped creature is not more dangerous than having an untapped creature in the majority of your games. And instead we get Incinerated, which, in the grand scheme of things, Lawkeeper is an enabler in this deck, but the Crown does the same thing, which I have in hand. And apparently my opponent really liked to savor that victory, or savor that play, wanted me to think about it for a while. And here's where maybe, I don't want to say the wheels fall off, but anytime you miss a land drop, especially this early, it can start to get dicey. And against black-red, which is probably going to be Bloodthirst, or almost certainly an aggressive build. Okay, deciding what to pitch. 3 mana to pump, 1 creature, no. And as much as I hate to pitch a Sarah, it's just too many turns away. The Arbalest at least could buy me time if I can get it out, and the stave off. I can cast it. I mean, that's the biggest thing at this point. I'm keeping what I actually have a reasonable chance of playing and getting use out of. The other thing about it is, at 2 land, if I get to 3 land, if I get to a Griffin Sentinel, suddenly you can really be right back in it. Even getting to, Honor of the Pure certainly is a lot better when you have multiple white creatures instead of a single white creature, but hey, it could be worse. I could just have, a green creature or something that could be giving me no bonus whatsoever. Of note also, anytime you see across the table that you're playing like red-black, it's great to play something like Honor of the Pure. I mean, if you actually were getting value out of it, because they have no way of getting rid of it. There's nothing in the set that they can do once that enchantment hits. And now it gets a little bit dicey. If I can get that 3rd land and can tap him down until I can get like the Arbalest out, there's some potential there, and 3rd land comes. Good. Here, since I can't block, attacking in is the play. Get the 2 damage. He's not in a position to trade. What would be nice is if you had 1 extra black up and was willing to trade, and I could, get some mileage off of that stave off, but instead, we'll just tap him. I mean, that's what I'm assuming. It's always funny when I'm doing this, doing the commentary, as if I, had reviewed it and know what's happening. Instead, I'm playing the game a second time in my mind. How would I play it? Given not even what I know for the end result, but what I know of the cards I can see. So there, board state starts getting a little bit uglier. Argument here for Spirit Mantle would be that I could at least stop his creatures for a few turns. He might get in with 1 big flying shade, and it will also leave up stave off mana, so I might draw out one of his removal spells. So that, I think, is what I end up doing. Going with a 3/3 Griffin Rider, which at any moment could become a 6/6 flying powerhouse. Just gonna have to wait and see if that ever happens. Stay tuned. And like I said, it draws out the removal, and that's the play that, probably just pissed him off. Nice thing about that also is he spent 2 of his black, so his shade can't get through for that much more. Although right now he seems to be establishing board state. I would have swung with the shade there. I don't think there's any reason not to get in that 1 damage. Then here, because there is quite a bit on the ground, and because we do have Honor of the Pure, Arbust Elite, even as just a blocker, is a 3/4. So getting him out is beneficial. I considered trying to go aggro, but I just felt like I was not in a situation yet where I could do that. And that shade is just problematic. I do know that there are 3 pacifisms and a Oblivion Ring somewhere in my deck, none of which he can deal with, because again, he does not have any enchantment removal available to him. I mean, he could Devouring Swarm and sacrifice it and bring it back with a Gravedigger, but yeah, he couldn't directly affect the enchantment. And there, knowing that I had a 3/3 coming out to join my 3/4, I felt fairly comfortable with that attack. The shade's just getting nastier and nastier all the time. It kind of is getting to the point where I'll have no choice but to tap him down with the crown. I mean, it's tap him down or lose, because when you're not too low on life, I actually don't mind when they use their whole turn tapping out for pumping the shade, just because they lose the turn, essentially, and sometimes you're willing to give up that life to buy yourself some time. If they played another threat, there are only so many threats that I'm able to deal with. And now I get the land, but it's a little bit late. If I can get 1 more, then I can do the Arbalest and the Crown, so I can see the benefit from that. And here, do I swing for the fences? Maybe so. Wonder what he blocks with, or if he blocks. Oh, he double blocked that guy. Okay, so I'm not sure. Well, I can see the benefit of that play. I can also see where burning one of his guys right there would be good, but I think we're at a point where he got me down to 6 now. So if I couldn't burn one of his guys there, because the shade, just has me by the short hairs. The interesting thing, though, is board state-wise, I am now in a more dominant position than he is, which I didn't think that was going to happen earlier. And then that guy showed up. And that makes things a lot worse. So the Scepter still can tap his shade. My protection from creatures Griffin can still block his Pharaoh. And in the event that I draw into a griffin and enough land that I can actually play it. Yeah, I mean, you hold out hope, and it's not real promising, but it's possibly there. And you also, have to play to your outs. And so, here I am. I'm thinking again, is there any way that I could get in there and accept the damage that he's going to deal? But I figured no. I need to be able to stop that Pharaoh, and I need to be able to tap down his shade if I want to live to die another day. By another day, I mean like 5 minutes later, but or game time. Get to see more of his deck. Might be relevant in game 2. Okay, so tap him down. And he chooses not to attack. And another Griffin Rider gets me to kind of a interesting situation where if a Griffin were to show up, suddenly I'm really dangerous through the air. Suddenly I can deal 2 and 2 and I can deal 11 through the air. But I would have to top deck that. And in the war of top decks, I would say I am not the luckiest of people. And it looks like he is much more fortunate. So, fireball to the dome. And that'll do it. And did I have a griffin on the way? No, I had land. At least there was some of my removal. That would have been nice to have a little while ago. But 5 cards away from a griffin. And that's the downside to the Griffin Rider. And that's why I wanted to explore the deck. Like, how often do you end up getting a 1/1 for 2? If it happens a lot, you probably should stop playing Magic, or at least stop picking those cards. But if you end up having a 4/4 flyer attacking on turn 3, and that happens, even 50% of the time, I don't know. I look at the depths of how bad it can be, and I look at the heights of how good it can be, and then try to figure out which one it is, maybe more frequently. And from my experience in this limited amount of time, I would say the Griffin Rider, if you have 5 plus Griffins, is worth it. So here's another very keepable hand. I have 2 cards I can cast, 2 more that I can cast once I get 1 more land, and a Sarah Angel. And for his deck, although we didn't see a lot of Bloodthirst, Fire Slinger is probably his ideal first turn drop. But I can take to the air. And other than his shade, I don't think we saw anything that flies. I don't know. Probably should be paying more attention to my own video, but I'm sure you're doing that. You're not at work minimizing the screen every time someone walks by. You're really just sitting down and enjoying this for the entertainment value that it offers. I hate Child of Night. If I can get another land, then the Assault Griffin could shut him down. But I didn't. And so, I think that's a reasonable play to pacify. Just knowing that if he's gaining life, I can't win the race. Now, I could have cut back the Pegasus also and just offered a trade with that, but knowing that he has limited options in the sky, I don't want to give up my aggressive flyer. And there's another option in the sky. So, what do you do? But if I can get a land this turn, and I can't, and then against a burn heavy deck, putting out the Spirit Mantle probably meant he was going to 2-for-1 me. That's what I kept thinking. Like, at this point, Pegasus is not big enough threat to take out, use his Shock or Incinerate, but if I put Spirit Mantle, it probably would be. And getting the Crown out, if I get to 3, and I need to, I can tap. On the other hand, if I get to 3, I'm not using it on the Crown, so where that was on the range of good plays, I don't really know. I'm not sure there was a good play. It might have been a better play than the Spirit Mantle because the Spirit Mantle was too risky, whereas the Throne or Crown or whatever it is didn't really have much risk. And yeah, there's a Soren's Thirst, so if I'd Spirit Mantled, he would be dead and I wouldn't have the card in my hand. I thought it was curious that he sacked the Child of Night there, because I felt like he wasn't getting a whole lot of value out of dealing that 1 extra damage. And for those counting at home, what are we, turn? Is that my 3rd turn, 4th turn? Again, I can't actually see the words, but I've gone several turns. I think 3, 4. Yeah, that was my 4th turn. So I've had... no, that was my 5th turn. So I drew 4 cards in a row, no land. And when you have 17 land, the probability of that's just very low. But here again, I'm holding out hope. If I get out a Griffin Rider and then 1 more land into that Sentinel, suddenly I have a very intimidating creature in the sky, and I might be able to stabilize the board. That being said, if he had attacked with like the Bloodseeker, where I know I'm going to have to cast creatures to be able to get it, I would have blocked. But instead he's just flying in for 2. Alright. And here is once again where I learned that Fireball's good, and it normally beats me. So, a good white deck, ended up losing, but I got a Jace out of the deal, so, and 2 packs, it was 4-3-2-2, made it to the 2nd round, so monetarily I'm not losing that much. Had a little bit of fun with it, and I definitely was able to cement my belief that, white is strong and Griffin decks are a reliable and intriguing archetype.